Hey guys, welcome back to Albert Gaming. Today we're going to be talking about Xiao, but before we get into it, I really want to go into a quick synopsis of Ganyu. Now, in the last video that I talked about Ganyu, I discussed using her as a sub DPS for Razor to proc Superconduct. And after that, off camera, I decided to try Ganyu as a main DPS, and she was annihilating anything that I came up against for the most part, except for obviously cryo stuff like cryo slimes. Now, this is not the usual Ganyu team that I'm running. The usual Ganyu team that I'm running is basically Ganyu, Child, Chi-Chi, and Venti, where Venti sucks everybody in, Child applies wet to everybody, Ganyu uses her ult and freezes everybody, stands in the ult, and goes to town with the increased damage that she gets from shooting inside of her ult. So here we're using the same domain that we're going to go through Xiao with. But I just want to take a quick look with Ganyu and Venti to see what the difference is here. So Venti pulls everybody in, Ganyu ults, and then she comes back, starts shooting, and we have massive numbers on the screen. And this is with an untuned Venti. Also, just two people here. We could have had Child here to use his stuff, but we didn't. Now, let's talk about the Xiao Test. And here's where I think Xiao's a trap. Look at these artifacts. 2 set Gladiators, 2 set Viridescent, everything at plus 18. His talents are all at plus 8, and he has an R1 5-star Jadewing Spear. Now, as we get into this, let's talk a little bit about that. So usually we see a Favonius weapon and Braveheart set. That's what we saw with the Ganyu test, for example. She had a Favonius bow and the Braveheart set. Xiao doesn't. He has his best-in-slot spear, and he has arguably his best-in-slot artifact composition, albeit at 18 instead of 20. Now, MiHoYo, obviously, as you guys probably know, doesn't let us look at the details of the artifacts, and I suspect that these artifacts are finely tuned for Xiao to be pulling out these big numbers. I mean, look at this, guys. Like, in his ult right now, we've got 23k, 23k. We are massively tearing through this. But is that realistic? I don't think so. Now, I have a Xiao who does not quite compare to the trial Xiao. My Xiao has Viridescent Venerers and he has Gladiators, both at the 2-piece, and they're a mix of anywhere between level 0 for the Helm, level 12, I believe, for the Flower, and everything else is between 16 and 18, because I am artifact poor, and I have not been able to get him quite up to where the trial is. But I do happen to have a Jadewing Spear, and I also happen to have the Skyward Pole. So I have I'm lucky enough to have 2 5-star weapons for Xiao, and that won't be the case for most people. Now, a lot of content creators that I've seen so far are talking about how godly Xiao is, and one in particular was saying that he believes that the Xiao test, the Xiao trial, was fair, going through the artifacts layout and saying this is a fair artifact to use to compare Xiao in this trial. And I mean, it's not really fair, and I don't think it's really right to say that, because he has a 5-star weapon as opposed to a Favonius weapon that most people use, a 4-star. He has his best-in-slot weapon plus his best-in-slot artifact set. And we didn't see that on the Ganyu trial. We haven't seen that in other trials. Everybody has had a Favonius weapon and Braveheart set, unless I'm forgetting somebody that was different. But I don't think so. I think it's always been the case that it's been Braveheart plus Favonius. Either way, we had seen a really huge uproar when Zhongli released and was not up to where everybody thought he was. There's a lot of hype for him, and he just did not compete. We're seeing, I think, MiHoYo trying to pull a fast one over people here with Xiao. Now, he seems to be a reasonably decent character, and you can see here with a reasonably decent team, we're getting through this domain. Now, this is a lot uglier than it would be if we were using Ganyu. We would have been done by now. I mean, we would have come out of those ults with maybe the Agent and the Sisson Mage at worst still alive. And again, I'm not at that level yet where the trial character is. But you guys got to be careful with this, because if you pull for Xiao, you have to understand that he is melting things in that trial because of the fact that he is so well tuned. And I just happen to think that that is MiHoYo trying to pull a fast one over on people. I don't think Xiao as a whole is a scam, but I think he's a trap in the trial. So, in conclusion here, the trial Xiao has 6,525 extra health, and I got mine up to 5,015. The trial Xiao's attack has a bonus of 1124, and I got mine to 1,038. My defense is a lot lower at 36. My elemental mastery is a lot higher, with 42 to 156. Our crit rate and crit damage are similar, sort of. The trial is 60.5. I'm at 59.7 for crit rate. Crit damage, it's 148.8% in the trial. I'm at 120.9. Energy recharge in the trial is 135. I'm at 140.8. And the trial's Animo bonus damage is 57.7 to my 61.6. So after I went through and I upgraded my Xiao as much as I could, I have most of my artifacts at 18, just like the trial, with the exception of my Animo damage cup, which accidentally got a bonus upgrade to level 20. And my flower is, I believe, at 12, hence the lower HP. So my take on this is that I believe some of the artifacts that the trial Xiao has might have, like, say, a attack percent boost. Because I'm sitting at 18 on 2 items that boost my attack with no attack percent substats. I think the trial Xiao must have attack percent substats to make up for that almost extra 100 attack that I don't have. But you can see with this footage that, I mean, I'm getting some okay crits when I get them. I'm critting up to 20k, which is not bad. At least not bad for me. So, I mean, you can make this Xiao into a great character. The problem is it takes a lot of investment. And the real question is, do you want to wait until you have the right pieces for him? You know, the right gladiator drops, the right viridescent drops. I just luckily happen to have some that I didn't need to farm. So, I mean, here you can see my stats that I'm pulling up. You can see the 5,015, the 1038. You can see where I'm at for everything. And you can take this and compare it to the trial Xiao, and you can see exactly where the differences are, you know, between our two characters. So, should you pull for him? Well, let's take a look at this banner. It's not bad. Diona, Beidou, Xinyan could all be great additions to your team if you need people to fit those roles. You don't have a Razor, Beidou could be great, you know? But at the end of the day, I don't think Xiao is as worth pulling for as Ganyu was. So, you know, if you have the money to do it, or you have the free Primo Gems, sure, go ahead. But otherwise, you might want to sit this one out.